Hey guys, it's Vandy So back again from the Card Fight Vanguard deck profile. So hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and donate to the Patreon. So let's get this one started. Today's deck is Genesis Regalia. So, my third version of Divine Gauge. And finally, we have an Angelica in Standard. The moment I've been waiting for, because Angelica was my favorite Regalia. So here we go. Let's get this started. First up, the starters. Aiming for the stars, Artemis. Auto and road upon, you get to draw a card. Then if your opponent's Vanguard's a grade 1 or greater, put a quick shield ticket into your hand. So you know, the basic draw that for some reason I keep ticking off of nowadays. And the quick shield, which you normally use for discard fodder, but at the same time it's a 5k shield. Why the starter is Artemis and not something else to fit the theme of Regalias? That's because there is no Regalia starter in Standard, unless I missed something. And it's an Artemis card, and Artemis still supports Divine Gauge despite the fact she is no longer in the deck because of reasons. Because Angelica's objectively better. But she still holds a purpose. And on to the triggers. We run 4 draw PG, being Kusinada, because who doesn't like draw triggers? Who doesn't like PGs? Shove them together, you got the best of both worlds. Because you need the draws, even though the deck kind of soul charges a decent amount, which might make you deck out. But the draws in the end will help you. And then we run 8 crit, 4 being Cyber Tiger, 4 being Mercury of Gravities, just to rush down your opponent. And finally, 4 heals of Witch of Big Pots. So, that's pretty much the trigger lineup. 8 crit, 4 draw, 4 heal. And on to the actual deck itself. 3 copies of Estrella of the Full Heavens. Auto, Vanguard, or Rearguard. When placed, draw a card and put a card from hand into the bottom of the deck. And if it was placed on Van, it gets to Soul Charge 2. So it's mainly here for the Soul Charge thing. Yes, it will most likely not happen that you do get the Soul Charge off. But you pretty much need the Soul Charge to go off so that you can constantly give your units a good flow of Divine Gauges. But it's still a good thing regardless because at least you're guaranteed to get a draw out of it. And the other skill, Auto Rear, at the end of the battle, that it boosted Soul Blast 2 to bounce it back to the hand. You might not use that ability. You might use that ability. Who knows? It could be useful to get that last card in hand, especially if everything's already gauged, because you don't need more than 1 gauge on everything. So, except for 1 card in particular. But otherwise, that's a good ability. So 3 copies. 4 copies of Bowstring of Heavens and Earth. Artemis. 8k base, 10k shield. Auto Rear. When it attacks or boosts, you may put a card from your soul face down as a Divine Gauge for this unit, and act Rearguard counterblast 1 and discard a card. Discard one of this unit's equipped gauges, Divine Gauges, choose one of your opponent's rear guards in the same column as it and retire it. So, it's good. It can get you a gauge either by just straight up boosting or attacking. It doesn't have to hit at all, which is really nice because all of your abilities go off when you have gauges. And by just discarding a gauge and counterblasting one, you can nuke an opponent's rear guard. So that's really helpful. So 4 copies. And 4 copies of the new Regalia, Ablation Regalia Var. 8k base, 10k shield. Auto Rearguard, when it attacks or boosts, you may put a gauge for this unit from your soul. So that's really helpful. It does the same thing as Artemis, but its other skill that makes it different. Act Rearguard once per turn. Discard one of this unit's Divine Gauges. Soul Charge 3, and if you have a Vanguard Regalia and its card name, retire this unit and countercharge 1. So that's good. It can get you the countercharge, and you do use up a okay amount of counterblast to where that countercharge would be helpful, and it gets you free soul just by discarding your gauges. So all around, that is a very helpful card, and I also like its artwork. It also looks I don't know what to say about his artwork. It kind of looks happy, uplifting to some form of an extent, and it just looks all around like a good looking card. So 4 copies of Ablation Regalia. On to grade 2s. 2 copies of Prometheus of the Dancing Lights. 10k power, 5k shield, auto Vanguard or Rearguard. When placed, look at top 2, put 1 into your soul, and put 1 at the top of your deck. So, normally you might soul charge that, and if you don't, you can stack your triggers, but it's also giving you a soul for free that you can use for Divine Gauging later on via your Regalia's effects. And auto Rearguard, when it attacks, if your opponent's Vanguard's a grade 3 or greater, one of your Vanguards in this unit gets plus 5k power down to battle. So that's good. This becomes a 15k attacker. Your Vanguard becomes a 18k base, it does become an 18k base because you're probably at grade 3 as well. So that's really helpful, having a 15 and an 18, forcing out at least 5k guards for both of them, in total 10k. So 2 copies. 4 copies of Twilight Hunter Artemis, 10k shield, 5k power. Swap those, 5k shield, 10k power. Auto Rearguard, when its attack hits, you may put a card from your soul face down as a Divine Gauge for this unit, and continues Rearguard. This unit gets plus 10k power for each of this unit's Divine Gauges. It can stack, and it's not during your turn only, it's during both those turns. So that's really helpful. Yes, it has to hit for the gauges to go off, but a lot of your things can just straight up gauge other units without having to attack or boost for that matter, or hit. So you can just keep gauging this thing up. It gets stronger and stronger. Like, 1 gauge already puts it to a 20k base. That's already a trigger to hit for a Vanguard only. And if it gets to 2 gauges, that's 2 triggers, etc. Just keeps getting bigger and bigger, harder to hit over, and a lot harder to guard, to the point where, unless they plan on binding it or retiring it later, or deleting it for that matter. I mean, no, that's the same thing, never mind, yeah. Unless they plan on binding it or retiring it later, it's going to stay on the board. So, all around, really helpful card. 4 copies, because it's a giant beat stick. And just to reiterate a time that I used to have, where you can have 2 of these on the side columns, attack with both of them, your opponent takes it, at 20k base on both sides during both players' turns, and then it's an immortal card that no one can get rid of. Anyways, on to the next grade 2. 4 copies of Regalia of Fate Norn. 10k base, 5k shield, auto Vanguard or rear guard, once per turn, counterblast 1, draw a card, and choose one of your rear guards, and you may gauge that unit. And if you do, you soul charge 2. So that's really good. It gets you a draw guaranteedly, and you can gauge something, and if you do, you get a soul charge 2 off it, so you're plussing more than minusing. So all around, that's a helpful skill. And its other skill, auto rear guard, once per turn at the end of the battle that it boosted a Regalia, discard a card from your hand and one of this unit's gauges, stand the boosted unit, and that unit gets plus 10k power and minus 1 draft end of turn. So, really good. You can now, since Artemis, you would normally want that on the Vanguard. Now, since you have Angelica on the Vanguard, you can finally do a double attack with the Vanguard. I mean, you could have also done it with Yggdrasil, but it was always better to have Artemis on Van, because Yggdrasil also activated from the rear guard. So now you can finally swing with the Vanguard twice, and it gets power, and it loses a drive from it, so to make it balanced, but that's still triple drive with 2 attacks, and they're both at 23k each, at the very least 23k each. So all around, really good skill, 4 copies. 4 copies of the new Grade 2 Demon Exorcism Regalia 3rd. I believe that's how you say that. 10k power, 5k shield. Auto rearguard circle, when placed, you may put a card from your soul face down as a divine gauge for this unit. And auto rearguard, at the end of the battle that attacked or boosted, this unit has 1 or more gauges. Move all of its gauges to another rearguard and put this unit to soul if you do draw. So that's good. It doesn't waste all the gauges because you get to put them onto something else. Hint, hint, this to make it a lot stronger. And then you'll get to put it to soul, so you have more things that you can gauge later, and you get to draw a card from it. So really good grade 2, 4 copies. 4 copies of Cosmic Regalia, CEO Yggdrasil. 13k base, Force Gift, continuous Vanguard or Rearguard. All of your Rearguards with Divine Gauge get boost, guaranteedly. And then if it's on Van, and it's your opponent's turn, those Rearguards cannot be affected by anything of your opponent's cards. So, if you have this on Van, they can't do shit to your rears. That's guaranteed. Like, they're just stuck. They gotta watch you beat the shit out of them. But if it's on rear, regardless, they still get boost, but if it's on Van, they basically become immortal. So, you could go either way. It's better to have it on rear because Angelica does all her skills on Van. It's just straight up a lot better. And then act Van or rear, once per turn, counterblast 1. Search your deck for up to Regalia of Faith Norn, 1 copy of it, by the way. Call it to rear, shuffle your deck, and choose up to 2 of your rear guards and put a gauge down for each of them. So, that is helpful, and you don't have to search to get the gauges. You can just counterblast 1 to not search, just to shuffle your deck and gauge 2 rear guards. But you can still call Norn just to advance the board, so that's really helpful, and you get to basically advance your field for a counterblast. So, 4 copies. And the last grade 3, the new addition to the deck, the main grade 3, and my favorite Regalia, and also the best looking Regalia in my opinion, in terms of artwork, and also the best ability in all of Divine Gage's unit, both counting Artemis and Yggdrasil and its own self. Regalia of Wisdom, Angelica. The brilliance of a Regalia will brighten up the whole world. 13k base, Force Gift, continuous Vanguard Circle. All of your rear guards with Divine Gauges cannot be chosen by your opponent's card effects, and they get plus 5k power. So, it's kind of like the best of both worlds, because it has the gain plus 5k power permanently from Artemis, and it has the prevention from effects from Yggdrasil. So that's really helpful. It doesn't have the boost, so you do need both of them to be effective, but that's nice that it has like the best of both worlds on that side, and it's during both players' turns. And auto Vanguard Circle, when it attacks, choose up to 2 of your rear guards and put 1 gauge down for each of those units. And that's just straight up for free. That's no counterblast whatsoever. So just take 2 cards from your soul, gauge them on something. So that's really helpful, not having to pay Counterblast or Soul Blast or discard cost or anything to gauge 2 things. And Auto Van, at the end of your opponent's turn, discard 5 gauges and heal a card. That is extremely good. If you can flash back to like the very first Takikaze VR, Ravenous Dragon Megarex, I believe? No, Gigarex. Gigarex. His skill was something similar where you discard 5 gauges to deal 1 damage to your opponent. They have 4 less damage. This is the exact opposite, but you can heal from any point. So that's really nice. You can gauge charge like hell. It's so easy to get gauges in this deck that discarding 5 does not matter. So you can get a free heal, bring yourself down to 4, bring yourself down to 3, bring yourself down to 2, bring yourself down to 1, etc. And it does so much, and it's such a good card. It is almost divine. Ha. Get it? Get the joke? But yeah. And just in all, it's a really good card. It can get you a free heal. It can get you 2 gauges for free. And it boosts up your rear guards permanently and prevents them from being touched. So all around, really good grade 3, 4 copies. And then gift-wise, we've got 5 Force 1s if you do pick it. If you do pick to go Force 1 route, which I don't think you will, it's always best to just have the 5, and just in case like you constantly keep riding. And when it's acquired, it just stacks, and it's a 10k power that can be placed anywhere. So that's really helpful, but this deck gets enough power on its own and a lot of attacks. So you might want to maximize those attacks/powers with 5 Force 2s. Why there's 5 and not 3? Well, just in case you do keep riding, you don't want to just run out of gifts and then get disqualified. So I have the 5 Force 2s. It's basically, you can't stack, but you can put it on any circle and it makes the unit's original critical become 2. So normally you want to go Vanguard first to swing for crit pressure using both Norns, and then put it on a rear guard that might have a Norn behind it. I suggest like a Norn and Twilight Hunter line because that just it gets broken. And then next turn, ride again, get another Force gift. So all around, this deck is a Force 2 kind of deck. It does a lot of power. You can get a lot of criticals out of it for the restand pressure, and your opponent just has to sit there and watch you beat the shit out of them. And then the Quick Shield. And it's basically just when one of your units is attacked, it gets plus 5k power down to battle. Like I said before, why is it not actual a 5k shield and just gives power instead? I will never understand, but that's just how it is. Well, that's the deck. Sorry if I'm talking fast, guys. It's just today I've had multiple retakes, and I'm getting really annoyed with it. So that's why I talked fast here. But I still hope you guys enjoyed. This deck is really fun to play. I really enjoyed playing Regalias. I enjoyed playing Artemis, and I enjoy playing Regalias now, especially with Angelica being in the game and her beautiful-looking art. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, donate to the Patreon. We have a Discord, so you can join that. I have a Twitch, so you can follow that. And I have a second channel, which you can go subscribe to, which all links are in the description below. So don't forget to stand up your vanguards.